All right, today we are reading Child Soldiers, August 1977. Um, she left home in May of 1977. So this is 3 months later when mom sent them all away. The months pass and the government continues to increase our food ration, allowing me to grow a little stronger. It has been 3 months since we left Roleap and last saw Kim, Ma, and Geek. I think about them every day and wonder how they are. At night, when all the other children are fast asleep, Chow and I whisper to each other about Ma and Geek. I hope that Meng, Choi, and Kim are able to visit Ma and make sure she is well. My heart lifts a little knowing that Ma has Geek to keep her from being too lonely. The other children have stopped picking on me because I am a fighter. While I have also improved my reputation as a worker, because she is weak, Chow has been taken out of the garden and demoted to a cook. She actually likes it better because she no longer has to associate with the other children. But since I am strong, it was only after 3 months of being at the camp when Met Bong told me she had some good news. You are the youngest girl here, but you work harder than everyone else. The Ankar needs people like you, she says and smiles. It's really too bad you are not a boy, she adds. When she sees that I am not jumping with joy at the news, her face scowls. Your number one duty is to the Ankar and no one else. You should be happy with yourself. This camp is for the weaklings. The camp you are going to is for the bigger, stronger children. There you will be trained as a soldier so you can soon help fight the war. You will learn many more things there than the children here. Her face beams with pride when she finishes. Yes, Met Bong, I am happy to go. I lie. I don't understand Met Bong's elation. I do not want to sacrifice for the country that killed my pa. At the break of dawn, I pack my clothes and my food bowl. Chow stands beside me with her head down. I do not want to leave Chow behind, but I cannot refuse the reassignment. Hooking our elbows together, we walk to the gate to meet Met Bong. Chow, you're older than me. Stop being so weak, I whisper as we hug, our arms wrapped tightly around each other. We will always be sisters, even though you were found in a trash can. Chow cries harder, her tears wetting my hair. Met Bong breaks our bond and tells me it's time to go. Chow refuses to let go of my hand. With all my strength, I pull it from her grasp and run away. Though my heart aches, I do not look back. Metbong leads me to another camp and hours walk away. I do not know what to expect of the new camp, but when Metbong says it is a child soldier training camp, I presume it will be a big place with many weapons and soldiers living there. But the new camp is almost identical to the old one. It is supervised by another Metbong with similar features and characteristics who is just as zealous a believer in the Ankar as my previous supervisor. While they talk, I am left alone to contemplate my new home. The new work camp sits at the edge of a rice field and is surrounded by forest. All around the huts, tall palm trees sway lightly in the wind. In one, a young boy is cutting down a cluster of palm fruits with a silver cleaver. He looks about 12 or 14 years old, has a round face, black wavy hair, and a small, dark, sinewy body. I marvel at how his toes and fingers grip the tree like a monkey. While one hand holds on to a few sturdy leaves, the other wields the cleaver, separating the fruit from the tree. As if sensing my stare, the boy stops his work and turns to me. Our eyes meet and hold for a few seconds. He smiles and waves to me, but the cleaver is still in his hand. This familiar gesture of human friendship that I have become so unused to is made all the more unfamiliar as he chops the air with the knife. I smile back at him before turning my attention back to the camp. The camp houses about 80 girls, their ages ranging from 10 to 15. I have yet to turn 8. Unlike the other camp, not all the girls are orphans. Many have families living in nearby villages. All have been selected by either their village chief or work supervisor to live here. There is a similarly operated boys' camp not far from us on the other side of the rice field, with approximately another 80 boys supervised by their comrade brother, or Met Bong Proof. I am told that occasionally the two camps gather together for lessons on the Ankar, and afterward they celebrate the Ankar's victories with dances and songs. My first night at the camp, the two groups gather around a roaring bonfire to listen to the latest propaganda. The two Met Bongs stand before us and take turns preaching their message. The Ankar is our savior. The Ankar is our liberator. We owe everything to the Ankar. We are strong because of the Ankar. Having heard it many times, I know when to break into the obligatory claps and screams. Our Khmer soldiers today killed 500 Yuns trying to invade our country. The Yuns have many more soldiers, but they are stupid and are cowards. Our Khmer soldier can kill 10 Yuns. Ankar, 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 we scream our reply. The Yuns have many more weapons, but our Khmer soldiers are stronger, smarter, and fearless. The Yuns are like the devils, and some refuse to die. Their voices rising higher and higher, the Metbongs tell us how our Khmer soldiers kill the Yuns. Our Khmer soldiers gut the Yuns with knives, spilling their insides on the dirt. They cut off the Yuns' heads as warnings to other Yuns invading Kampuchea. The Metbongs pace around the circle of children as if possessed by powerful spirits, their arms shaking furiously at the sky, their lips moving faster and faster as they spit words about the glory of the Ankar and our unbeatable Khmer soldiers, words condemning the Yuns and detailing their gory fate. The children's furor matches that of the Metbongs. You are the children of the Ankar. If you In you lies our future. The Ankar knows you are pure in heart, uncorrupted by evil influences, still able to learn the ways of the Ankar. That is why the Ankar loves you above all else. That is why the Ankar gives you so much power. You are our saviors. You have the power. Ankar, 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 we thunder in appreciation. The Yuns hate you. They want to come and take away the Khmer's treasures, including you. The Yuns know you are our treasure. Squatting down, the Metbongs look us in our eyes and tell us the Yuns have already infiltrated our towns and villages to try to capture us, but the Ankar will protect us if we give it our total loyalty. This means we must report to the Ankar's suspected infiltrators and traitors. If we hear anyone at all, our friends, neighbors, cousins, even our own parents, speak things against the Ankar, we must report them to the Metbongs. My heart stops. Though the Metbong's lips continue to move and words continue to come out, I can no longer hear them. Pa was against the Ankar. That must be why Pa was killed. Ma is against the Ankar, and they must never know this. With my fist raised, I scream the obligatory Ankar. When the speeches are over, the circle opens up and the kids gather to one side of the fire. Four boys get up from the crowd with mandolins and homemade drums in hand. They stand to the side of the crowd and start to play their instruments. They beat the drums and strum the mandolins while their feet tap the ground. They look at each other, brows arching, eyes narrowing, mouths opening with bared teeth, but they do not look angry. In fact, they look happy. When they finish, they tease each other about who missed what notes. All of a sudden, they burst into loud laughter. The sound is nasal, shrill, and genuine. I have not heard anyone laugh genuinely since the Khmer Rouge takeover. In Roleep, we lived with so much fear that there was no room for laughter. We were afraid to laugh, lest it draw attention to our family. After the boys quiet down, five girls walk up to the front and stand facing the crowd. All are wearing beautiful black shirts and pants, not the faded gray black I have on, but shiny and new, with bright red scarves around their waists. They wear red ribbons across their foreheads with red fake flowers made of dyed straw. Forming a line, they sing and dance for us. All the songs are about worshiping the powerful leader of the Ankar, Pol Pot, the glory of Ankar, society, and the unbeatable Khmer soldiers. They dance scenes depicting farmers at work, the harvesting of rice, nurses helping wounded soldiers, and soldiers winning battles. There is even a song about a woman soldier hiding her knife in her skirt and thrusting it into the heart of a Yun. Though I dislike the songs, it is music nevertheless, and it is something of a respite from the life I have been living. In the nearly 2 years I lived in Roleep, there was no music or dancing. The chief told us the Ankar had banned it. This must be a privilege that we, as child soldiers, have been granted. Watching the girls sing and dance, a strange feeling comes over me. Though the words they sing describe images of blood and war, the girls smile, their hands move gracefully in unison, their bodies sway and twirl to the rhythm of the music. After the dance, they hold hands and giggle as if they have had fun. The thought warms me, bringing a smile to my lips. Laughter has become a distant memory, and I cherish the echo of a different time. In Phnom Penh, Chow and I used to take Kiev's clothes out of her drawers and play dress up with them. At 14, Kiev was beautiful and stylish and bought only the latest fashions. Her clothes were so grown up and pretty, just like Ma's long, flowing dresses, short, shimmering skirts, and ruffled collar shirts filled her closet. Chow and I slipped in and out of her clothes, laughing and giggling, calling each other Madame and Mademoiselle. Then we'd go into Kiev's jewelry box and put on her necklaces and earrings. Kiev inevitably came home and caught us, screaming and yelling. She swatted at our bottoms as we ran out of the room. After the performance, all of us were invited to dance. The girls get up and dance with each other, and the boys group tightly together. I've always loved music and dancing. For a few minutes, my feet move to the beat of the drums, my arms sway to the rhythm of the song, and my heart is light and joyful. After the dancing is over, Metbone comes over and says, "For a young girl, you are a good dancer." "Thank you," I reply softly. "I like to dance." "What is your name again?" "Serene." My lips easily say my new Cambodian name. "Serene, I want you to join the dance troupe. We're putting together shows for the soldiers. This would mean taking time off work for rehearsal. We only dance for fun now, but we will dance for the soldiers if a unit comes to the village." "Thank you, Metbong. I would like it very much." After she leaves, I cover my hand over my mouth, stifling a scream. Me, a dancer? I get off work for rehearsal and travel, new clothes, fake flowers in my hair. For the first time since the takeover, I feel young and light. A smile crosses my face. The reality, though, is more painful and tiring than I had imagined. Every morning before we start rehearsing, Met Bong wraps our fingers together with elephant grass. Then she forces our hands to bend backward, creating a beautiful curve when the hand is unwrapped. The process is incredibly painful and it takes many years to achieve a permanent curve. She cuts the grass bondage after an hour, leaving my fingers stiff and throbbing with pain. Then, in our line formation, she teaches us a few simple steps each day. When I am not busy with dance rehearsals, I work from morning until mid afternoon in the rice field. The rest of the time I spend learning the songs and listening to Metbong preach the philosophy of the Ankar. On my first day of field work, after only a few steps in the muddy water, my ankles and toes start to itch. I lift one foot out of the water and scream loudly. There are fat black leeches all over my ankles, feet, and between my toes. I have seen leeches before, but never one so big and fat. These are bigger than my fingers. Black and slimy, they attach themselves to my flesh with suction cups, sucking my blood. Their bodies writhe and vibrate, making my skin itch and tingle. Frantically, I try to peel them off, my fingers grabbing their cold, squishy bodies. The leeches stretch with my pull, become longer. They refuse to let go. Finally, I get one head off, but the other end stays firm and continues to take more blood. A workmate comes over to me and laughs. For a brief second, the sound of laughter startles me. "You are so stupid. This is the only way to get them off." She pulls out a stalk of grass. Her hands hold both ends of the stalk and she swipes the grass down and around my ankle. The leeches fall off onto the ground, leaving my ankle bleeding. This way, both heads come off at once. Next time, put the legs of your palms down. Next time, put the legs of your pants down and tie them tight around your ankles so nothing can get in. I had rolled my pants up so as not to get them wet. I was wondering why everyone wore them down. "What about my feet and toes?" I asked anxiously. The girl shrugs her shoulders. "There's nothing much we can do. They don't hurt and they can't take much blood. I pull them off at the end of the day. Get used to them." Ugh. I shudder at the thought and wonder if I can. From afar, Metbong screams for me to stop being lazy and get back into the water. My heart beats quickly. Laziness is the worst crime against the Ankar. I tie my pants tight around my ankles with long grass and jump back into the rice paddy. In the water, the warm mud oozes itself between my toes, and after a few steps, my feet and toes begin to tingle and itch again. "Get used to it," I mutter to myself, gritting my teeth with determination. I bend over to plant the rice. The work is backbreaking and boring, and the sun burns my back black pajama clothes. As the hours pass, my mind wanders to Kiev. This is what she did every day until she died. Sweat drips down my face and chin as my stomach convulses. I have no time to be weak. At the end of the day, I did forget about the leeches clinging to my toes, but I did not forget about my sister. It is September, 2 months since I last saw Chow. Metbong is training the younger children to protect themselves now. She tells us Pol Pot senses troubles ahead, and we must prepare ourselves. Pol Pot is sending soldiers into villages and towns and taking all children 8 years and older from their homes, including base children. Depending on their size and age, the children are given different jobs and training. They are put in camps to grow food, make tools, work as porters, and train as soldiers on bases like ours. You should be proud, she says. Your training with me puts you far ahead of these other children. Met Bong, I ask. I have done nothing but work in the field and watch the older girls train. It is very easy to train someone to use weapons, she replies, but to train the mind is much more difficult. I have been training your mind all these months. I have tried my best to place Pol Pot's words in your head and to tell you the truth about the Yuns. Children must be taught to follow orders without hesitation, without question, and to shoot and kill even their traitor parents. That is the first step in the training. I seethe when I hear her words. Rage boils quietly inside me, but I contain it. I will never kill Ma for them. Not ever. The new year passes over without any celebration or joy. The January breeze turns into April heat, and I am 1 year older. Life at the camp continues as always while I divide my time between the field and the training lessons. Like Kiev, I am alone here, even though I eat the same food and sleep in the same hut with 80 girls. Besides our obligatory discussions about the power of Pol Pot and his army, we live together in silence. We keep to ourselves because we are all hiding secrets. My secret is our lives in Phnom Penh. For another girl, it may be that she has a handicapped brother, has stolen food, possesses a pair of red pants, is nearsighted and used to wear glasses, or has tasted chocolate. If she is found out, she can be punished by Met Bong. Though I know the danger of developing a friendship with the girls, sometimes I wistfully think about it. Without Chow, I am alone. Until now, I've always had Chow to play with, fight with, and talk to. In Phnom Penh, Choi and Meng were already adults. Kiev was a teenage girl. Kim, a prepubescent, and Geek a baby. Chow and I were closest to each other. When I was sad and upset, it was she whom I invariably sought out to share my feelings. I never realized how much I would miss her now that we are apart. At the new camp, the nearest thing to friendship comes from the palm tree boy. I do not know his name and have never spoken to him. He comes to our camp often, sometimes by himself and sometimes with his father. I learned from Met Bong that he lives with his family in a nearby village. He and his father share the job of collecting palm sap and fruit for the village's chief. The boy and his father often give Met Bong some palm fruit to eat. If they are there when I am around, the boy usually throws a palm fruit in my direction, smiling and waving to me, with his hand still clutching the cleaver. Every day, our nightly lessons grow longer and longer. It seems Pol Pot has replaced the Ankar as the source of power. I don't know why or how it happened. I do not know anything more about him except for what Met Bong tells us at our nightly lesson. Met Bong says he is the one responsible for bringing the Khmer Rouge to power. He is the one who will restore Kampuchea to its ancient glory. Met Bong's voice rises as she speaks his name, as if uttering Pol Pot brings her closer to his power. Since the Khmer Rouge takeover of Phnom Penh, I have heard of Pol Pot, but I never knew exactly what his position with the Ankar was. Now it seems that it is the Ankar that is working for him, and that we will all work for him. More and more each day we call out his name in place of the Ankar. In the propaganda reports, we now give thanks to Pol Pot, our savior and liberator, and not to the Ankar. It seems that nothing is accomplished without the credit going to Pol Pot. If our rice production is increased this year, it's because Pol Pot made it happen. If a soldier is a strong and skillful fighter, it is because Pol Pot taught him. If the soldier gets killed, then he did not listen to Pol Pot's advice. Every night we praise and commend Pol Pot and his Red Khmer soldiers for defeating the enemy. In violent details, we hear of the soldiers' mighty strength and supernatural powers to kill the Yuns. The Yuns are superstitious and believe that if their body parts are not buried together when they die, then their souls are doomed to wander the earth for all eternity. These souls cannot rest or be reincarnated back to earth. Knowing this, our soldiers cut off the Yuns' heads and hide them in bushes or toss them in the jungle so they cannot be found. All this information we get in gory detail until we too become desensitized to the violence. Within the next month, one by one, the older boys and girls leave the camp with nothing more than the clothes they are wearing. They are sent off to help the war. Some go to live in other camps where they learn to make poisoned steaks, and others follow the soldiers as porters. As porters, they carry supplies, food, medical aid, and weapons for the soldiers and are often put in the line of fire. Many of the children have been moved to so many locations that their parents do not know where they are. Once gone, many of them are never heard from again. Then the boys' camp closes altogether. Bong says Pol Pot needed the boys to go and live in the mountains so they are closer to the other soldiers. There, the soldiers can protect them. She tells us Pol Pot knows best, but still she seems angry with their move. On the boys last night, while the children were sleeping, I got up because I had to go to the bathroom. From the bushes I spied Met Bong and Met Proof together by the fire. They were sitting on the ground, their shoulders touching. They talked softly, but the words were drowned out by the crackle of the fire. Bong then rested her head on the male superior's shoulder, and he put his arms around her. She is, after all, a young woman, and anywhere else this would be an everyday scene. I wonder why she is allowed companionship when we are not. When the boys left, they took their instruments with them. Now Bong still requires the girls to practice with the hope that soon the boys will return and we can all dance again. Soon our camp population is reduced to 40 girls ranging in age from 10 to 13. Now it is our turn, Metbong tells us, to increase our training and fulfill our duty to Pol Pot. She gathers the girls together and instructs us to sit in a circle. You are the children of the Ankar. You are here because you are the brightest and fastest. You are fearless and are not afraid to fight. The Ankar needs you to be our future. She says this slowly, deliberately, filling us with pride. One day soon you will join the older girls who fight the Yuns, but for now there are many things you will need to learn. Metbong stands up and disappears, only to return moments later with an armful of tools. They clang noisily as she drops them in a pile in front of us. Sitting before us, she says, All these tools you know already. We use them to harvest rice, plant vegetables, and build houses. But in the hands of fighters, they are also weapons of war. The round sickle, the hoe, the rake, the hammer, the machete, the wooden stick, and a rifle. She reaches for the sickle and holds it up. The sharp edge can take off the enemy's head, she says. The point of the sickle can pierce a person's skull. My eyes widen as these images are imprinted on my brain. The top of my skull tingles. I look to see the other children listening intently, displaying no emotion. The hammer smashes the enemy's skull. The machete cuts them. When you have to protect yourself, make whatever make whatever you have into weapons. That Bong shares with us. I stare blankly at her, absorbing her words, showing no feeling, while my hate for her grows stronger. These are the weapons Pol Pot's men used on their victims, victims like Pa. I blink rapidly several times, trying to chase away the images. Bong picks a rifle from the pile, and the same kind I have seen many times before on the shoulders of the Khmer Rouge soldiers. This is a weapon I wish we had more of, but they are very expensive. The ammunition for them is very expensive too, so we have few rifles to waste. The rifle is easy to shoot. Anyone can learn to use them. Even a child can shoot it. She calls me from the circle of 40 children. This is one way to carry it, she says as she puts the rifle on my shoulder. Its butt digging into my chest, it rests heavily on my shoulder, perhaps a fifth of my weight. Metbong then instructs me to sling one arm over it. Balancing its weight with my arm, I do this easily but against my will. She then takes the rifle and slips the strap on my shoulder. The rifle hangs on my back a foot from the ground, its butt bouncing lightly on my calf. Obviously, it is too long for Serene to carry this way, Metbong says. I focus on it, realizing that this is the weapon that made Kim bleed, the same weapon that smashed into his skull. My hand shakes slightly, but I steady it by clutching the stock tightly until my knuckles turn white. Your extended left hand holds and balances the rifle. Your right hand aims and squeezes the trigger. See, it's easy. Matt Bong's voice sounds enthusiastic and jubilant, but I feel neither her joy nor passion, only my hatred for her and Pol Pot. When the bullets come out of the rifle, they travel in a straight line. Many soldiers say they can escape the bullets by running in a zigzag. She calls each child one by one and teaches her how to hold the rifle. After our first lesson, Metbong assures us that this is only one of many lessons to come. During the day, no one can hurt me, but at night, as I drift off to sleep, sandwiched among 40 girls away from Chow, my mind wanders and dreams of my family, keeping me awake. In the morning, my head throbs and I am drained of energy. I cannot allow this weakness to control me or let it seep into my spirit. If this happens, I know I will die because the weak do not survive in Kampuchea. The nights when I do not dream of my family, I have nightmares of something or someone trying to kill me. The dream always begins the same way. The sky is black and echoes with the thunder of monsoon storms. I am crouching in a bush and sweat runs down my forehead and stings my eyes. Shivering, I bring my knees closer to my chest. I hold my breath when I hear leaves rustling all around me, then footsteps. Instinctively, I know something is after me. It is looking for me in nearby bushes, looking to kill me. Two giant hands separate the leaves and expose me. My body is paralyzed when I see what stands before me. It is both a man and a beast. It hovers above me. Coal black eyes bulge out of its sockets, and large flat nostrils flare from its fat, furry face. Fear grips me as I notice the silver machete in its hand, gleaming sinisterly in the moonlight. As the beast bends down to grab me, I run and make my escape between its legs. It turns around and slashes at me with the machete, barely missing my leg. As I run, I hear the blade landing nearer and nearer to me, slicing through the bushes around me. The faster I run, the faster it runs after me. It chases me until I am cornered. Then the jungle closes in on me, forming thick walls. There is no escape. The beast raises the machete over its head, aimed directly at me. I am sick of it now. I am sick of being chased and tired of running. My blood boils with rage as I hurl my body into it, knocking it off balance. It drops the machete. I ram my body into it once more, and it crashes down to the ground. I get up and grab the machete. Time freezes as I chop off its hand. Its stump squirts blood all over me, but I do not care. Again and again I raise the machete and hack off pieces of its body until it lies motionless, dead. In the morning I wake up soaked in sweat and fear, yet strengthened by the nightmare since I turn out to be the victor. The dreams are always the same, but the character changes. The enemy, a Khmer Rouge soldier or a wild beast, a monster or a ghostly man creature, comes after me with knives, guns, axes, machetes. There is always a struggle until I obtain control of the weapon and kill the enemy before it can kill me. In the end, I, the hunted, turn and become the killer. Each night before we can sleep, Met Bong gathers us together in the hut for another hour of propaganda reports. She lights one candle and holds it in her hand. The orange glow lights up her face while the rest of us are in the dark. At one meeting, as I lean against the straw wall and slowly fall asleep, a loud scream shocks me awake. With my heart pounding, I wonder if it was me who screamed. But then I see that the girls have closed in tightly around Met Bong. What happened? Met Bong asked the girl who screamed. I felt it was a big hand. I was leaning against the wall. A hand reached through the straw and grabbed my arm, then my throat. It was wet and cold. I know it's a Yoon coming to get us. The girl's lips tremble. Her face is yellow in the light, looking very much like an apparition. Metbong turns to the older girls and tells them to go look. Take the gun. Make sure they are loaded. Shoot anything that moves. After the older girls leave, the group huddles together in the middle of the room, facing the walls. Images of the Yuns attacking and killing us run in my mind, filling me with fear. In Phnom Penh, Paul once told me the Yuns are just like us, but with whiter skin and smaller noses. However, Metbong describes the Yuns as savages who are bent on taking over our country and our people. I do not know what to believe. The only world I know beyond this camp is the one Metbong describes to me. Sitting in the dark, I find myself starting to believe her message about the enemies. A few minutes later, the girls return and report that whatever was out there is now gone. In the moonlight, they saw large footprints around the compound. The Yuns are attacking us, Metbong informs us. Her hands grip the rifle tightly to her chest. When they take over the towns, they infiltrate them and open up the prisons. The Yuns are running around, raping girls and pillaging towns, and the prisoners who are against Pol Pot are with the Yuns. We have to protect ourselves. Metbong rambles on frantically. After that night, Metbong institutes a new policy, and we now take turns guarding the camp at night. I am asleep when a hand roughly jerks my shoulders. Wake up, it's your turn to stand guard, a voice says to me from the dark. Grumpy, I sit up and rub the sleep out of my eyes. She puts the rifle in my hand, with its heavy, which is heavy, and I cradle it against my chest because my fingers are not long enough to wrap around its stock. I walk over to the doorway and sit down. The sky is dark and cloudless, allowing the full moon to shine through, giving everything an eerie silvery glow. The cool wind blows quietly. All is quiet except for the crickets. I live with 40 others, but I am so alone in this world. There is no camaraderie among the children, no blossoming friendships, no bonding together under hardship. We live against each other, spying on one another for Pol Pot, hoping to win favors from Met Bong. Met Bong says Pol Pot loves me, but I know he does not. Maybe he loves the other children, the uncorrupted base children with their uncontaminated parents. I came to this camp under false pretenses and lies. They think I'm one of them, one of the pure base children. I have never seen Pol Pot in person or in pictures. I know little about him or why he killed Paul. I do not know why he hates me so much. In the night, when my defenses are down, my mind flashes from one member of my family to the next. I think of Ma, Kiev, Chow, and my brothers. My throat swells when Geek's face floats into my mind. No, I tell myself, I have to be strong. No time to be weak. But I miss Pa so much it hurts to breathe. It's been almost a year now since I held his hand and saw his face and felt his love. The night sky looms over, more black in front of me. "Oh, Pa," I whisper to the air. As if answering me, something rustles loudly in the tall grass. I hold my breath and look around the compound. I know I heard something. My heart races. Everything out there is moving toward me. The tree trunks expand and contract as if they are breathing. The branches shake and swing, transform into hands. The grass sways like waves heading toward me. They are coming at us. My finger squeezes the trigger, and the shots go everywhere. The rifle jerks back, hitting me hard against my ribs. "I'll kill them! I'll kill them!" I scream. Then a hand grabs the rifle from me while another slaps my face. With my eyes open wide, I put my arms up to shield against another assault. "Wake up!" Metbong screams at me. "There's nothing out there. We have no bullets to waste." I flinch as she raises her hand again, but then decides against hitting me. "But Metbong, you said," I plead in a small voice. "I said shoot when you see something real, not ghosts." Metbong interrupts me as laughter erupts from the girls. "Don't forget about the bodiless witches," a voice calls out to me as they all head back to sleep. Many claim she's only a myth, the bodiless witch, an ordinary person by daytime and a witch at night. The only way to tell if someone is a bodiless witch is by the deep wrinkle lines around her neck. At night, when these witches go to sleep, their heads separate from their bodies. Dragging their intestines along, they fly around to places where there's blood and death. The heads fly so fast that no one has ever seen the faces, only their shiny red eyes, and sometimes the shadow of their heads and entrails. Once she finds a dead body, the bodiless witch nestles against the corpse all night. Their tongues lick blood and eat flesh while their innards writhe around them. That night I clutched the gun tight to my chest, my fingers resting on the trigger, alternately aiming at the sight of the Yuns and up in the sky for the witches. Poor thing. Okay, so we're going to stop there.